One of the big talking points with San Francisco 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers divisional round matchup happening this Saturday is Brock Purdy versus Jordan Love. And who better to give an opinion and a take on the two different quarterbacks than Hall of Famer Steve Young? Take a listen as Steve Young talks about the differences between the two and also reacts to the interview that he had with the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, and talking about what his biggest takeaways were from being able to sit down with Brock Purdy and talk to him face to face. It's actually pretty cool insight. Take a listen right here as Steve Young joins KMBR as he does every week to discuss the upcoming playoff matchup and a sit down with 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy.
Let me just ask you this. Who's come further this year, Brock Purdy or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love. Brock showed last year. We wondered, is it possible that he could continue this pace? Is it possible that this team is that efficient and that good? And so I think he's come a long way.
Yep.
But Jordan, Jordan was going to be just a guy that was going to be around. We wanted, we saw him when Aaron was still there, it was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. There was nothing about it that said. And then I think last week he came a distance that he's got to do it a lot more, but Brock, I think, didn't shock me as much as Jordan Love has in the last month. Look, Brock shocked me from day one, right? Like what's going on here? But Jordan shocked me because I've watched Jordan a little bit, and I'm like, what? Well, I'm not sure. And then, but you look at an innovative coach, which there are a couple handfuls of young, innovative coaches that are leaning into what I talked about 1,000 times is the changes in the game that have happened over the last years for safety. And it's allowed offenses to expand and really take the space. And that's what LaFleur's done. And you get a young quarterback who can throw it all over the field and some cool plays, and they start to come together and believe this is the NFL. This is what can happen. And so that was, forget the Cowboys for a minute. Let's talk about the Packers. That was super fun to watch them expand. These young kids who have no idea what they're doing, and they got a cool coach that's come up with some cool stuff, and a guy that can actually throw it and throw it around, fill in the space that's created. It's like, wow, so much fun. And then they kept answering back. So that's something to build off of. I wonder if you think about the Packers on the ground today, it's like, that's really cool that happened. And then you think to yourself, could that happen again? Well, Joe Burrow threw it around Levi's and beat us, so it's not unheard of. So that's got to put a little fear into us. But then to be in Dallas, to do that memorable moment, right? We're not going to forget that game for a long time for a lot of reasons. And that happened, and you're the victor, so you have all that excitement and elation. And now you travel back to Green Bay, and it's -1 or -4, and you now have to practice on a short week in the cold. And all the elation and the joy, this is set up not well emotionally for the Packers.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to do that on a short week, travel again, and come out and run into a buzzsaw of emotion that's been pent up for 2 weeks, and for some guys 3 weeks. The Packers in for a buzzsaw feeling. Now, could they throw it around like Joe Burrow did and answer back? Yeah, young guys that don't know any better. I think that's possible. But for 4 quarters to hold it apart, I feel like we're in a really good spot. Again, everyone's like, "Shut up, Steve. We don't put that on me. Don't put that on me." But I even if it's playing, I would feel like we better jump out and make this happen because everything's set up to do that.
Yeah.
So we saw, we're talking to Steve Young here on the Yuma Guest Line. We do it every week. We saw some video clips on Twitter of you doing a sit-down with Brock Purdy, and we wanted to play a piece of it and maybe get some of your reaction to what Brock had to say. I guess you guys were talking about how Brock stacks up and compares to some of the other quarterbacks that are left in the postseason or that are in the playoffs. Tom and I went through them earlier. You've got 2 number 1 picks left. You've got all first-rounders except for Brock, and here's his reaction, then we'll see what Steve had to say about it. Here's Brock.
Not being in this football, this life, the things that can come with it, and it's all such a blessing. I'm very thankful for it, and I'm not taking it for granted. But honestly, my mindset is I try to hold this all loosely, not try to hold on to, I need to be the guy, the starter in the NFL, this and that. And I think the more you think like that, the more you start comparing yourself to guys like that. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen or whatever, and those guys are great, but I'm not them and they're not me. Like, I know who I am, and God, if you want me to do great with this, great. If not, all right, let's go do something else wherever you need me. And that's allowed me to not put all this pressure on myself. It's allowed me to play free. It's allowed me to live my life and keep things simple.
Pretty mature answer.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what'd you think when he was saying that?
I was, it was, I don't know, I'm not going to say unnerving because that is not the right word. What I wanted to get at is I know that you have to manage all of this stuff, expectations, comparisons, what people are saying about you, what you hear about yourself, how you feel, your own self-talk, the coaches, the players in the locker room, being in a game that's really hard to be good at. Like, there's all this stuff that you got to handle, and I wanted to probe on how he's handling it because he's young. It's all new, and it's amazing to me how his faith defines what his internal voice sounds like, so that he says, if somehow I was asked by God to do something different, I would go do it. It's like, I hold this loosely, is what he said. I don't have to have it. It's not, if it goes away, then I'm going to go do something else to serve. And so in that way, you do hold it loosely, and that's a powerful spot to be in emotionally, because then you don't have to worry or have great anxiety. And I don't know if it's a lesson for it's like I walked out, I was like, does he help my life? Did he help me try to figure out my own life? Like, how do I do this better? But I think there's a power in that, I would say, ever-present faith in every situation, in every aspect of it, that allows for that kind of conversation to be had. And so I thought that was super fascinating and very enlightening on how you don't have to wonder at any point, at any time, what he's thinking about, how he's thinking about it. It is, by that answer, exactly how he sees everything. And I thought that was super helpful to hear.
I mean, do we think, though, that after the season he wins the Super Bowl riding high, July night, God comes to him and says, "Go shuck corn"? He doesn't say, "Bro, you serious? I just won the Super Bowl." What do you mean, go shuck corn? I ain't shucking corn.
I think you'd be a mistake. It did not take him at his. I think you'd have to take him at his word. Like, I think that's how he feels about it.
Okay, I get it.
You and I can have commentary about it, Tom.
Yep.
And you and I can have kind of long-term, real-world kind of reactions. And like, he's young. Like, to stand in his shoes today is to stand in the shoes of the answer to that would be, I go shuck corn. I think you have to understand where he is at this moment. You'd have to think about it that way.
All right. It was a joke anyways. Who cares?
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. I think. I don't know how else to think about it. It's a super powerful. It's a super powerful place to be.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Put up those walls, because you put up the walls that don't allow. You don't allow things in. Now, sooner you and I know that over time, life does kind of invade. You know, and it makes it harder, and you have to work harder to hold it out, and to hold that kind of dramatic faith. But I think it's worth an effort. I don't know. It's very interesting, super interesting.
Yeah.
Starting with his thoughts on kind of Packers Jordan Love versus 49ers Brock Purdy, and kind of the differences between the two and his perception of them, I kind of had the same thought process. We saw the traits that Jordan Love possessed early on coming out of Nevada, and that's what got him to be a first-round draft pick. He had an amazing arm, he had some mobility, and he looked like he could be a special player at the next level if developed properly. And at the beginning of the year, when he got his first opportunity to get the start since Aaron Rodgers moved on to the New York Jets, it was a little shaky. And I think he left a little bit to be desired. But as we've seen, and as the season has progressed, he has gotten better and better and better. And that's kind of where Steve Young has been surprised. When he was talking about Brock, he's like, Brock surprised me right off the jump. Like, there's nothing new. Like, Brock has surprised me from the very beginning and just continues to surprise me. So not much has changed there with Brock. But I think when you're looking at Jordan Love and what he's able to do right now and the success that he's had and going in and beating the Dallas Cowboys, it's been pretty impressive. But I also like what Steve Young had to say about his interview with Brock Purdy. And again, Brock Purdy is huge in his faith, and he is not shy to discuss it openly and share it. That is a huge driving factor in his life and a huge driving factor in his success as an NFL quarterback. And as we know, a lot of playing football is about mentality, how you handle the ups and downs of football. There's always going to be adversity that comes along with this game. So how do you manage that? And Brock Purdy puts a ton of faith in God to be able to work through these situations. And to hear Steve Young talk about, like, man, I walked away from that interview like, I think I learned something. I think I need to reevaluate how I view my life and how I kind of, my perspective on things, because Brock is just rock solid in that mentality. He's rock solid in his faith. He's rock solid in how he goes about his business. And I think that's why when we watch Brock, whether we listen to him talk, we watch him on the field, he has that calm about him. We talk to fans all the time. If you ask any fan right now of the San Francisco 49ers, they will tell you that they have never been more confident with a quarterback than Brock Purdy. Obviously, these two guys, you had a supreme confidence, but that was about 2 decades or more ago. So it's been a while. And so when we talk about the kind of recent era, the last 2 decades, there hasn't been a quarterback that has provided this much trust and confidence within a fan base than Brock. And I think that stems from his faith, and you can see it kind of spread. And I think that's why Brock is such a special player. He's not driven by personal accomplishments and things like that. He believes he's called to do something, and he is going out and just executing, and he knows that if one day it's all gone, that's fine. That's okay. And just like Steve Young talked about, that strips away a ton of pressure. It strips away expectation that you put on yourself. We all put expectations on ourselves. We all put pressure on ourselves to be great and push and grind and elevate and all these different types of things. But when you kind of put your trust and faith into a higher source, it kind of allows you to disconnect from those stresses, those adversities, and you put it into your faith. And it's really cool to see. It is. And I like what Steve Young had to say. He's like, I think I learned something. I think I need to reevaluate my life. I think we all do. But I love it. Always amazing to hear Steve Young talk. Obviously, if you haven't seen the sit-down interview with Steve Young and Brock Purdy on the 49ers YouTube channel, go check that out. If you want to listen to the entire interview on KNBR, click the link in the description, and that will take you to their podcast page. You can listen to that interview or any of the other interviews they have done. And it will be an interesting game that we have coming up here against the Packers. Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, 2 young franchise quarterbacks taking their teams to new heights. It's going to be another one for the ages. But let me know what you guys thought about Steve Young and his comments, everything in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.